If you've been walking the same old road for miles and miles, if you've been hearing the same old voice tell the same old lies, if you've been trying to fill the same old holes inside, there's a better life, there's a better life.
Hi, my name's Joe Handlon. I'm 33 years old. I'm from Shelbyville, Indiana. I went to Waldron High School, and I have a 9-year-old little boy. Growing up, I was an athlete. All through school, I played sports. I was always kind of stand out in baseball and basketball. I did a lot of hunting and fishing growing up. I would wake up early and couldn't wait to get outside and go out to the woods or the creek and just play, just be a boy.
Joey was always a really good boy, was never a problem. He was a very good kid.
There was also a part where my dad was an alcoholic. He would get jobs and quit his jobs because of the alcohol addiction. There was still things going on inside that other people didn't know about that were tough for a kid to deal with. And my mom had to work hard to support us, me and my 2 sisters.
I ended up, when they were pretty small, going to work and taking care of them, which gave them a lot of freedom, which wasn't a good thing.
In that time, I moved to a neighborhood, and it was all older kids around me. I started thinking these guys were cool. I wanted to be like them.
Probably teenage years is when it all started, just trying to fit in with the older boys.
At the age of 13, I smoked a joint for the first time.
He was very good at sports. I had hopes and aspirations that Joey would, get scholarships and go on to college.
I kept playing sports. I kept making the teams. I was still standing out in my athletics. Drug use is progressive, and it went from smoking pot to taking pills, and this is where my practices weren't important anymore. My grades weren't important anymore.
Sports didn't matter anymore. Schoolwork didn't matter anymore. And I didn't know what to do. I was losing my son, and I didn't know what to do.
Instead of just smoking pot, I was now taking pills like Vicodin, Xanax, Valiums, experimenting with drugs like acid and ecstasy. And then my junior year of high school, I overdosed on methadone.
My good little boy had started getting rebellious, and of course that was because he was getting into things he shouldn't be doing.
My mom remarried a man, his name's Jamison Carrier, and he came into our life and he was a Christian man. I started seeing a man really live out the Christian walk. He started helping me through this addiction.
This was way bigger than any person could fix, and I knew that Jesus was the only answer.
I knew that the answer was Jesus Christ, and I knew that He had a plan for me. I seen it in other people's lives, and I seen other guys walking in freedom, and I believed what the Bible said. I believed that they were free from an addiction because I seen it, but it just wasn't true for me yet. So I went through my first 30-day rehab. I got out and went right back to the same way of life.
One day, Jamison and I were going to town, and he said, let's drive by the cabin, and I didn't understand why we were driving by the cabin because it was out of the way, and he just said, I really feel like we should drive by the cabin. So we drove by the cabin, and there was Joey's truck. We tried to get in the door. We yelled Joey's name, and he didn't respond, and we tried to get in the door, and it was tied shut. Jamison kicked the door in, and Joey was laying on the bed, passed out he had a syringe in his arm, and he had overdosed, and he was already blue, and we had no idea how long he had been like that. And so we called 911, and Jamison had to get him on the floor of the cabin and breathe life back into him and do CPR, and the ambulance came and took him to the hospital, and he was in intensive care, and the doctor even said to me, I don't know how he's alive. I don't know how he's even functioning because he was without oxygen for quite a while.
13 times in my life I overdosed. Some people would say I was lucky, but I know it was the grace of God on my life that people would find me. There was a time in my life I pulled it together and I was working, and I ended up marrying a girl I went to school with. We had a little boy. I was playing basketball one night, and I came down on somebody's ankle and tore all the ligaments in my foot. I went to the doctor and they gave me a prescription to a pain medication. I went and filled that pain medication, and it took me right back to that addiction. I started using again, ended up going to prison. I did 9 months in prison, and in that time, my wife left me. She couldn't put up with it anymore. And I got out of prison and I went right back to the same way of life.
And there was lots and lots of nights that I would take his picture and I would go in the living room on the couch and I would hold him when I didn't know where he was, and I would lay and pray till I fell asleep.
I went out to Portland, Oregon, a broken man. I'll never forget, there was this bench outside the Teen Challenge Center, and I would go out there and I would grab my Bible and I would sit on that bench. And I just started I would just sit there and say, God, I don't want to be who I've become anymore. And on that bench, God started revealing himself to me, and he started breaking down these walls of addiction. And I started truly feeling that there was hope. I went so deep in addiction, I couldn't get myself out of it. But I started reading that Bible, and it started becoming real to me. I believe I went out to Portland, Oregon Teen Challenge delivered from drugs, because when I walked out of that hospital, February 1st, 2015, I've never had a desire to use heroin again.
I got my mother-in-law praying with me, and we prayed for deliverance for Joey. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, on February 1st, 2015, that Joey was delivered.
God started building me into a man of integrity, a man of character.
Jesus reached his hands down out of the heavens and he pulled Joey out of that addiction. I know he did, because he knew his heart and he knew that he couldn't do it on his own.
I had been in and out of my son's life so much. I wasn't talking to him anymore. His mom was tired of me coming in and out of his life, that she said it's not happening anymore, and I wasn't able to talk to him. And I just started sitting on that bench and praying, God, if you can use me, use me. And if you can restore this relationship with my son, God, then restore it. And he did.
There's a change in him that I've seen that I never saw before, and he is a different person. And it's all by the grace of God that he is who he is today.
We went out on this family vacation. And on our way to the cabin we were going to take this vacation and stay in, we stopped at this random church, and it was this message of salvation that a little boy could understand. And in that church, I was able to lead my son to Christ, and I missed out on so much of his life, but God put me there for the most important decision of his life. And there's been a lot of struggles in my life. There's been a lot of ups and downs, and I still work through a lot of things, but today I know that God has a plan for me. Today I work at North Central Indiana Teen Challenge. I just completed the staff internship. I'm going into a staff position.
Peace and joy. I see happiness that I've never seen in him before.
If he can take a broken life like mine that is riddled with addiction, strongholds, times in jails and prisons, and overdose after overdose, and brokenness and failed relationships, I know he can do the same for anybody.
What God did for Joey, he also did for Joey's dad. He is free of alcoholism and he's living for God today.
It's a story of grace. It's a story of mercy. It's a story that God loved me and he never quit pursuing me.
Don't ever give up on your loved one, and always believe that as long as they're alive, that God can reach down from the heavens and deliver them too. What a great way to be celebrating Easter this year.
Today I give my life back, I give my time back by working in the ministry of Teen Challenge. I tell you today that if you think you're in a situation that's too big for God, that you're too broken for God to heal, that things have fallen apart and there is no putting them back together, I can tell you today that God is the answer, and God can, and God will, and God is able.